There. All right. At least I can send you a video. So, once we have a foundation, right? So you have a basis that they can't assail, kind of like the Vatican. The Vatican had to have an establishing document, and or any city-state has to have establishing documents, and they have to cite their authorization or authority. If you go to remnanthouse.org, I don't know where I'm looking here. Are you over here? Over here? No, you're over here. Okay. If you go to remnanthouse.org, you will see several tables that are encoded within the Torah, where he put my name and different things that give us our authorization, our authentication. I would like to incorporate that, those unassailable documents, if you will, into a section of our website, so that basically you would force them legally to somehow prove these are authentic in order to assail our authority. In other words, you're basically putting yourself in a position where they got no choice but to just walk away, because even the Pope couldn't undo what you're doing, right? Nobody could. There's nobody on earth. There's no king, there's no queen, there's no president, there's no Congress, there's no government that has the authority to supersede you. This is something that it took him 20 years for me to even get this and understand what he was doing. And now it's for the benefit of all of the saints. It's not for the benefit of any person or family. It's for the benefit of the saints. And that's something that our ancestors used to understand. Certainly David did. That's why he left Jerusalem and did not let Absalom sack it. He had to love the people more than himself. And that's the way we have to be. But I believe that he has sent us to free his people. In fact, in 1995, when he commissioned me, the words he gave me was, Peter, go tell my people I have set them free. And so this is his declaration of their freedom. It is not a declaration that man is doing. It is his declaration of their freedom, of the freedom paid for at Calvary by the blood of the Lamb in his right name, in his Hebrew right name, and his Hebrew right, the Father's Hebrew right name in the document. Again, making it unassailable. So that's what we're after. We want the Pope to read it and go, okay, well, we're done. There ain't nothing we can do about this. Okay? And they have to understand that, legally, if you will, that we've taken every precaution to look at how to declare ourselves independent of your crazy, and then done so. And this then becomes a safe haven for all who are baptized, who then, all they need is a baptismal certificate, right? And they've now been born again. They've got a certificate legally, not just etherically, not just religiously, not just in terms of church or in terms of, some religious experience. No, this is a legal document, which, by the way, in our past, not too long ago, used to be taken a lot more seriously versus baptismal certificates. So we'll be going back to that, where they're taken a lot more seriously. These certificates have the power to negate any other certificate. So, for example, a death certificate negates a birth certificate or a marriage certificate. See that? Because now a death certificate supersedes the other certificates legally. In the same way, the new birth certificate should be literally like a death certificate, would have the same legal effect in terms of their ability to attach you, the individual human, to the straw man. So therefore, freeing you to use the straw man in their system, but no longer be subject to their system. In other words, you can still use your puppet person to go and do things, but it's the puppet person. The real person is no longer subject to their jurisdiction. This is a game changer. Legally, it is literally total game changer for them. You cannot be brought, they cannot bring you as a citizen of a separate state into their jurisdiction without an act of war. Take an act of war. And invoking such an act of war would free our angelic armies. It would loose them, because they would loose to defend all citizens. So this all just changed. All of this just changed. And they instigated the change, so remember that. They're the ones that instituted the mandates and requirements and walls and restrictions. That's all flipping on them now. So now we're the ones saying, you're the one setting, you set the standards. We're putting you in your own captive groups, and you get to stay out there. If we need something from you, we'll come use your dollars, okay, to come get it. But we'll get it out of there and bring it over here. Not going to come over and sit in there. So he made a table for us right in the presence of our very enemies. That's why I think, I believe that it's different than the standard, because these, I do believe most of these cryptos are useless. They're going to end up being useless because there's, again, no use case, and there's no authentic, intrinsic value within. Whereas here, those things that we keep here in stock, if you will, like things that we produce in-house, become part of the GDP of the nation, if you want to look at it like that. That's what backs the shekel. That's why we have buy orders sitting under our sell order price for the shekel. And we're going to keep doing that to increase liquidity. That's a lot different. That's a whole different spirit than the speculator coins that are out there today. 100% of them are speculator coins. I should take that back, with the exception of the stable coin. So we're operating more like a stable coin than we are a speculator coin. And as you know, the stable coins are the things that everyone benchmarks off of. So that becomes like the USDC coin. They want to use it as a benchmark or stable coin that's always pegged to $1, and everything else rises and falls against it, right? But this thing never loses its value. That's their trick. Well, we're the stable coin over here, and we want to defend that value at all times. So when we're going up, you're going to see your shekels go up here when we reset the value. And our set house price will go to about 35 cents for the shekel here shortly, as soon as we're at a certain liquidity, which will be within 30 days, I would imagine. And then at that point, we're going to double down on liquidity. So just to give you kind of that heads up, and then also for the health element of this, as Tony is already dealing with, and if you're incorporating it into a website already, that's not just going to be a website, it's going to end up being a network, because there's all kinds of doctors that are saying peace out, and they're going to want to network together with another way to generate the same revenue or more, so they can maintain their lifestyles, but be able to buffer again through a system. The world has changed, and we need to keep up with the interfaces that help us interact while freeing his people. And this is a game changer, because we buy as a block or as a group, we did get to determine what we do or don't retain as information about our users. And as a church, we have no obligation whatsoever to divulge any information about any of our members or any of their activities. So that puts it in a whole different scenario than it does for commercial enterprises and for businesses that operate within their system. So this is why I'm wanting to get us into these conversations now. We can start having some group meetings, maybe some online Zoom meetings, and some additional ways for us to look at how we can create frameworks going forward that allow our individual users, whether they're professionals or individual families or individual groups or churches, an insulation, a buffer, if you will, between themselves and the beast. I believe they call that standing in the gap. But what do I know? That's all.